Thought this ride would take me home. 10 minutes in, I realized I might not make it home at all. If you're listening, remember this. When something feels wrong in a rideshare, act fast or you'll regret every second you stayed quiet. It was a Saturday night, just before midnight. I left my friend's birthday at a downtown bar, stepping into air that was cooler than it should have been for July. I opened the app, requested a ride, and watched the little car icon crawl toward my PIN. The driver's name was Daniel. Black sedan. 4.9 stars. Nothing about it set off alarms. He pulled up in less than 2 minutes. The car looked clean. He rolled down the window and said, "You Sarah?" Calm voice. Conservative haircut. Polo shirt. The kind of driver you forget 5 minutes later. "Yeah," I said. I checked the plate, matched it with the app, opened the back door, and slid in behind the passenger seat. He tapped start trip, and we merged into the light traffic. The first 5 minutes were small talk. Weather. The festival happening next weekend. How late the bars stayed open now. He drove cautiously but not slow. Signals, checks, the kind of habits you get from too many defensive driving videos. I watched the blue line on my screen. It traced a route I knew by heart. At minute 6, he took a right he shouldn't have taken. I glanced at my phone. The line recalculated. It wasn't drastic, just a detour around a construction zone, maybe. He noticed me looking. "Shortcut," he said, glancing in the rearview. "That main road's backed up because of a wreck. This saves us 5 minutes." I didn't see flashing lights ahead. I didn't see brake clusters. But people take different routes for a lot of reasons. I let it go. We passed a couple of closed storefronts, then a gas station that was dark except for one pump light flickering. Another right. Another recalculation that moved the blue line slightly off-center. Minute 8, I checked the app again. ETA pushed out 2 minutes. Not 5 less, 2 more. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice neutral, "can we go back to the original route?" The app shows we're adding time. He smiled like he'd been expecting it. "Trust me, I'm avoiding the mess." He tapped the dash, no GPS visible, no mounted phone, then returned his hand to the wheel. Been driving this side of town for a decade. The app doesn't know all the side streets. Minute 10. The buildings thinned. Streetlights got sparse. The kind of blocks where one burned bulb changes the whole mood. My seatbelt felt tighter across my chest. I kept my phone in my hand and opened a chat with my best friend, Liv. Sharing live location now. If I stop moving, call me. If I don't answer, call 911. I hit share live location. The little checkmark popped. I toggled my phone to show my home screen. Quiet. We went another 2 blocks and my screen said weak connection. The little pin representing me jittered and slid, then caught up. I watched the driver's eyes in the mirror. He didn't seem nervous. He seemed focused, like he had a plan and my timeline wasn't part of it. Another right. Unmarked warehouses now. Chain link fences. A dead grass lot with a shipping container in the middle like a dropped toy. No other cars. No foot traffic. No reason to be here unless you worked here, and nobody worked here at midnight on a Saturday. Seriously, I said, louder. This isn't my route. Please get back on. He lifted his hand without looking at me. 1 minute, he said. We'll be on a feeder that drops us right at the expressway. Then why is my ETA getting later? He didn't answer. We drove half a block more. He took a slow breath and eased the car to the curb. He put it in park. The surprise wasn't the stop. It was the way he turned the key all the way off. Darkness swallowed the dash. The engine clicked into a new, too quiet silence. What are you doing? I said, my throat getting tight. Tire pressure light, he said. Feels spongy. I'm not going to get on the expressway with a bad tire. He stepped out and shut his door. I tried my handle on muscle memory alone. It wouldn't open. Child locks. I felt the thunk of panic physical, like missing a step in the dark. I reached across for the other handle. Same dead click. I locked and unlocked my door 3 times, as if that would suddenly convince the mechanism to become reasonable. He walked around the front. He didn't check the tire. He didn't kneel. He didn't even look. He stood there, hands on hips, scanning the block. He turned his head right, then left, then right again. Not nervous. Surveying. I opened the app to safety. I saw call 911, share trip status, report safety issue. I already shared my location. I pressed call 911 and the bad signal stuttered. The screen spun. I held my breath and lifted the phone toward the ceiling like 6 inches made a difference. It rang. 911, what's your emergency? The voice was clipped cool. I spoke fast and quiet. I'm in a rideshare. The driver took me off-route. We stopped in a deserted area. Child locks are on. He's outside. I shared my location with a friend. I read the nearest cross street I could see on a warehouse sign, then the name of a company half faded on a corrugated wall, and the rough description of the car. Stay on the line, the operator said. Units are en route. Can you safely get out? Child locks, I said. Doors are locked. Can you roll the window down? I tried. The motor hummed, then coughed, then stopped. The car was off. The windows were dead. Is he trying the doors? The operator asked. Not yet. He's coming back. Stay on the line. Do not confront. If you can, put the phone on speaker and keep it down. I dropped the phone into my tote bag, but angled the mic up. I felt stupid about the angle and then angry that I felt stupid at all. He opened his door. The cabin light flashed on, and he leaned in, smelling like aftershave and rubber mats. Tires fine, he said. We're going. He started the car. The dash lit up. He put it in drive and pulled away slow. I kept my voice level. Please take me to the nearest gas station or well-lit area. We're almost at the feeder, he said. I've called 911, I said. They're tracking my location. He gave a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. People call all sorts of numbers when they're nervous. Units are en route, the operator said inside my bag, soft but audible. His hands tightened at 10 and 2. He didn't look at me. He didn't speed up, either. For a block, he obeyed every painted arrow like the car was on rails. My phone buzzed 3 times in a row. LV, are you okay? LIV, your dot stopped for a minute. LV, I'm on the phone with dispatch. Hold on. I typed a single word, moving. We took another right. The road narrowed further, the kind of narrow where one car has to pull onto dirt if someone's coming the other way. Nobody was. The fences were taller here. The lot lights were high-pressure sodium, 2 of them blown out and the third stuttering. Half a block ahead, the street dead-ended at a roll-up gate. Wrong way, I said, my voice snapping. This is a dead end. No, it's not, he said. There's a cut-through. There's a closed gate. He slowed but didn't stop. At the end, he tapped the brake, then rolled the wheel left into a gravel strip that paralleled the fence. The car jolted. Dust plumed behind us. On our right, between fence slats, I could see the back ends of box trucks like sleeping animals. My mind reorganized in a single sharp line: get out, get public, get eyes. I looked at the lock knob, then a slender gap between the door and the frame. The old coat hanger trick requires something long and a leverage angle. I had neither. I did have a metal water bottle, heavy, dented from too many drops. I palmed it and felt the weight. He glanced in the mirror. Don't do anything stupid, he said, almost bored. Then take me to a gas station. He braked. Not hard. Controlled. He turned, very slowly, to look at me directly for the first time. His face was placid, the way a store mannequin looks when the store is closed. You should calm down. In my bag, the operator's voice. We have a patrol car a few blocks away. Can you describe any landmarks? I forced my eyes away from him and scanned. Chain link on both sides, dead end behind us, trucks through the fence, a blue sign with white letters that says Lot C. He moved the car again. The sign slid past, and a tall light pole with a broken top. Copy. Stay with me. He reached to the center console and adjusted something. I heard the click of locks. All 4 doors thunked. Already locked, now double locked. The sound did something chemical to my stomach. Let me out, I said. I was done negotiating. He didn't answer. He pulled up along a stack of pallets leaning against the fence, stopped, and put the car in park again. He took the key out. The engine died. He didn't get out. For 3 seconds, we sat in the kind of silence that shouts. I pulled the water bottle out and hit the rear side window once, hard. It thudded and bounced. the glass buzzing but not cracking. Laminated side glass. Not designed to shatter easily. Hit points or it holds. His head snapped. I hit again. The sound was pathetic compared to what I wanted. He reached toward the front passenger seat, hand dipping out of view. "Stop," he said, and the word was flat, not loud, more like a command he expected to be obeyed just because he said it. I hit the window a third time. A small star bloomed at the edge, where the glass meets the metal. Not enough. If I was going to get through, it would take longer than I had. He came out of his side in a single fast move and opened my door from the outside. For a stupid half second, I registered that the lock had released because the power was off. Then I registered the rest, the angle of his shoulders, the way he stood half shielding the door with his body, the empty street beyond him, the fact that my right knee was pointed directly at his midsection because of how I'd twisted to swing. "Don't," he said again. Closer now. His breath was steady. He wasn't winded. He had time. "Officers are seconds away," the operator said from the bag. "Stay in the vehicle if possible." He frowned, hearing the voice clearly this time. He glanced up and down the block as if expecting headlights. There were none. He took one small step back, and that single inch changed the geometry. The door hinge stopped blocking my swing. I drove my right foot up and forward with everything I had. Not theatrical. A direct stomp. It landed under his rib cage. He grunted and folded enough for me to shove the heavy water bottle into the soft part of his throat just above the collarbone. He recoiled. I planted my foot on the door edge for leverage, shoved the door out, and dove across the seat and out, catching my hip on the latch and tearing something in my side. Pain shot like heat, but it was silent compared to the noise in my head telling me to move, move, move. I hit gravel and rolled. He reached. He grabbed my tote strap. It snapped. He got the bag. He didn't get me. I ran. I didn't look back. I aimed for the corner where the chain link fence met a low concrete barrier and vaulted it badly, scraping my shin. I landed on hard-packed dirt on the other side and sprinted along the fence line. My lungs burned like I'd swallowed a match. The lot opened into a wider cross street, wider, but no brighter. I scanned for anything, a lit window, a night watchman's hut, the glow of a soda machine, a camera, any eyes. Nothing. I heard his door slam. I heard gravel grind. I cut across the street and ducked behind a stack of empty plastic crates taller than me. I crouched and tried to pull in air quietly. Footsteps? No. Engine? No. Then yes. The engine turned over, coughed, caught. The car moved. Headlights snapped on and swept the lot like a lighthouse beam. I pressed my back into the crates. The light passed. The beam returned from the other side. He was circling. "Officers are close," the operator said. My phone was in the bag he'd yanked. For a panicked moment, I thought I'd lost the connection entirely. Then I realized my smartwatch had kept the call alive. My heart kicked in my throat. "I'm out of the car," I whispered, too loud. "He has my bag. He's driving. He's circling the lot." "Stay hidden if you're safe," the operator said. "Units at your last pin are 1 block away. Can you see an intersection sign?" I crawled to the edge of the crates and peeked. The corner had a bent metal post with a green sign, Taney Avenue. The cross was half missing, but the remaining letters read Octon. "Taney and maybe Stockton," I whispered. "Warehouse lot with crates. He's in a black sedan." "Copy," the operator said. "We have eyes on Taney. Do not reveal yourself unless you see police lights." The car rolled by my hiding place at idle speed. Window down now. His head turned. His profile was a chalk cutout. He didn't look angry. He looked patient. Like he'd done this before and the outcome depended on how calm he stayed. A siren Dopplered in the distance. Faint. Then a second, closer. The sedan paused, then accelerated toward the far exit, headlights cutting side to side. Red and blue stroked at the far end of the block. A cruiser turned onto Taney fast and stopped across the lane, boxing the exit. The sedan braked hard. For a breath, I thought he'd ram the police car. He reversed. Another cruiser slid in behind, angled. A third approached from my side, slower, blocking the middle of the street. The whole geometry of the darkness changed. It had edges now. It had lines drawn by light. Hands, hands, a voice barked from a loudspeaker. Driver, turn the engine off. He didn't. He tried to thread between the first cruiser and the curb, misjudged, scraped metal with a grinding squeal that made the hair on my forearms rise. The car shuddered to a stop. Doors opened. Commands stacked on top of each other, left hand out, right hand out. Open the door from the outside. Step out, face away, walk backward, stop, down on your knees. He complied. Slowly. He had the same mannequin composure, but stripped of rhythm. The police stepped in and took him down, controlled and fast. Plastic zip ties clicked. I stood up too fast and almost blacked out. A beam snapped to me, blinding. Ma'am, stay where you are. I lifted both hands instinctively and said my name, the ride share, the operator, the bag. Two officers moved toward me with hands open, not rushed, palms visible, the choreography you get when people are trying to calm a horse. Are you hurt? One asked, scanning me for blood I couldn't feel. Scraped, I said. He had child locks on. He stopped twice. He didn't check a tire. He was just looking around. They guided me to the cruiser, sat me on the bumper, and draped a mylar blanket around my shoulders that crinkled like candy wrap. Someone handed me water I didn't remember taking. My heart hitched and floated like I was listening to it from across a room. The operator's voice in my wrist said, "Units have you. I'm disconnecting now. You're safe." One officer retrieved my tote from the front seat of the sedan. Wallet still inside. Phone still connected. The water bottle heavy and familiar. The bag strap was frayed where it had snapped. He held it gingerly with two fingers like it might break again. "This yours?" he asked. I nodded. My throat refused to manufacture words for a second. Another officer returned from the sedan with a plastic organizer box he didn't show me, but showed to his partner with eyebrows up. I caught one word, zip ties. I caught another, tape. My stomach turned, but my brain filed the details coldly, like evidence in a folder. They read him his rights. They put him in the back of a car. He didn't say a word. He shouldn't have. He watched me once, briefly, through the open door, face unreadable, then looked away as if I were part of a training exercise he'd finished. I gave my statement twice, once to the officer with the clipboard, once to the one with the small body camera he tapped to mark the clip. I described the turns, the dead lots, the stops. I told them about the windows being dead when the car was off, the child locks, the doors double-clicking, the way he opened my door from the outside. I told them I'd shared my location, that my friend had called, that the operator had stayed on the line. I described his smell, his shirt, the way he looked at me the first time he said, "You should calm down." They didn't rush me. They didn't interrupt unless it was to anchor a detail to a time marker. An EMT cleaned the scrape on my shin and the ragged line along my hip where I'd hit the latch. He asked me to wiggle my toes. I did. He asked me if I felt dizzy. I lied and said no. He offered to take me to the hospital. I said no again, this time because I wanted to go home more than I wanted to lie under fluorescent lights while a tech-printed wristbands. "Do you want us to call someone?" an officer asked. "I want to call my friend," I said, and my voice surprised me by working. I called Liv. She answered on the first ring and cried and laughed in the same sound. She said she was already in her car, already halfway to me, even though she didn't know exactly where me was until I said Taney and maybe Stockton, and she said, "Got it," and hung up because she never wastes time in a crisis. They kept me another 30 minutes for paperwork I half remember now, then offered to drive me home. I accepted. I sat in the back of a cruiser for the only time in my life without handcuffs and watched the world reassemble into normal. Streetlights were just streetlights again. Gas stations were places to buy gum. Intersections were friction, not traps. When we pulled onto my block, I thought I would never love my own ugly apartment building as much as I did them. Liv was on the steps before the cruiser stopped. She hugged me hard enough to bruise in the places I wasn't already bruised. I let her. The officers gave me a small card with a number for a victim advocate and the case number written in a careful block hand. "We'll be in touch," one said. "There have been other reports. Your call helped us put eyes on him in time." I asked the question I didn't want to ask because not asking it wouldn't keep the answer from being true. Has he hurt anyone? We can't discuss open investigations, he said, which was not a no. Inside, Liv made tea nobody drank and sat on my couch like a sentinel. I showered to get the smell of rubber and dust out of my hair and failed, then scrubbed again and failed less. I sat on the floor with the towel around my shoulders and stared at the card with the case number until the numbers stopped jumping. Sleep didn't happen. When the sky started to lighten, I called the number. The advocate was exactly the voice you want when your nervous system is still vibrating, practical and kind, and not invested in pretending it wasn't terrifying. She told me how to lock down my account in the app, how to flag the trip, how to request my ride logs and save copies, how to ask for updates on the case. She told me that what I did sharing my location, calling the second it went wrong, giving details, getting out when the door opened, mattered. People want to think calling late is better than not calling at all, she said, but calling early is better than calling late. It gives us a chance to stop something before it becomes something worse. A detective called that afternoon. He asked for the same details and a few new ones. Did the driver ask personal questions? Did he touch the locks when you got in? When he stopped the first time, how long was the engine off? Did you notice cameras on the blocks you passed? He was assembling a map of minutes and turns, looking for patterns against other maps. When I asked if I would have to testify, he said maybe. When I asked if I should be scared of retaliation, he said they had him on charges that would hold him for a while and that the court could issue a protective order without me asking. Then he asked if I had anyone to stay with, and I said yes, even though what I meant was that Liv wasn't leaving my couch anyway. For a week, every time a car door shut on the street, my throat closed. For 2 weeks, I ordered only daytime rides, and even then I stood on the curb where the street was bright and snapped a photo of the plate before I got in. I sat behind the driver only if the car had no child locks. I learned where the child lock switches sit on most rear doors and practiced flicking them with my nail the second the door opens, making it muscle memory. I started saying the route aloud as if I were reminding the app Main to 6th. 6 to Belmont. Straight past the hospital. A good driver nods and says, "You got it." If they don't, I say it again. 2 weeks after the arrest, the detective called back. He said I might be asked to identify items seized from the car, nothing I had to see in person, just confirm that none of it was mine. I said yes to everything he asked, because when the world scares you, the only way to feel less small is to pick up a piece of it and hold it still. I tell this now for one reason. You don't get a warning when a routine turns into a story someone else will watch and say, "That could have been me." You don't get cinematic music. You get a right turn you didn't expect and an engine turning off and a door that won't open. Share your location before you think you'll need it. Use the safety features in the app. If your body says something is wrong, believe it. You're not being rude. You're not overreacting. You're narrowing the space between you and the people who can help you. I thought that ride would take me home. 10 minutes in, I realized I might not make it home at all. What changed that outcome wasn't luck. It was action in the exact minute when my fear finally beat my politeness. If you ever feel that minute arrive, choose action. Choose noise. Choose to be the problem a driver doesn't want. Choose to be the person who makes it home.